All right, I have 6:30. We will call this to order. So this is what is today? Today is Tuesday, May 5th. And we are called to order at 6:30 p.m. Additions to the agenda, I do have a few. Let's see. So under new business, we will go number 5. I would like to discuss a joint meeting and an update with the Planning Commission. Number 6, and Sandy, the email that we got about that church plaque, I feel like we can discuss that. Do you?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's put that on number 6.
I missed that. Everybody squirreled out there for a minute. What was number 6?
Number 6 will be the discussion of the historical plaque at the church. You all set?
Not hearing it. Okay. I'll check with you after.
Okay. And number 7 is going to be an executive session, and that's going to be we'll call it a personnel issue. And that is all I have. Any other additions to the agenda?
Just the dates of the minutes we're gonna do.
So that would be Tuesday, May, oh no, how many of these do I have? Tuesday, April 21st was our last regular meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the only minutes that I have in the packet. Was there minutes from the special meeting, Tom?
There are minutes from both special meetings that you have to approve in the minutes of April 7 that are done. Oh, there's Carol.
I'm here.
That you have to do. The April 7th are done. One of the special meetings are done, and the last week's special meeting is almost done.
But we only have the 21st.
Tonight,
I have-
only the 21, correct.
I have the
On the
7th.
14th, all of the others will be done. On the 19th, all the others will be done.
Okay.
All right, so we're just gonna do the 21st tonight then.
Okay.
Okay,
So moved for all those additions.
all right. Moved and seconded by Ms. Harris. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Chair's remarks, I have none. I mean, I think that all in all, we're doing okay, given the situation. So, open public comments. Anybody have anything on agenda items? Seeing none. Guests, we do see Brana here. We have my son. I see Seth. We are still waiting on David. Yes, Brana? Can you unmute Brana, please?
David's here. And as for public comments, I just want to be able to add to your comment on town employee managing town, because the library has done stuff. And you know it. You personally, I sent an email a few weeks ago.
So you're talking about down under old business number 3? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And I do see David Emery here. It's David
Oh.
Walker that we are waiting on.
Sorry,
Can you
you're
hear
right.
me, Chris?
Oh,
We can hear you.
yeah, where are you?
I'm here.
All right, perfect.
I don't know
He's
how,
here.
but I'm here.
Okay. All right. So we can go into the committee report. So we will start with David and Mark, if you would.
All right. Well, let me get started and again say thank you for the invitation. And today's date, and it was hopefully the nicer weather's coming and everybody's feeling better. However, going to the topic at hand, the COVID-19 has not left. It is still here. It's still here strong. Vermont state numbers continue to climb. However, they're climbing very slowly. And so they're doing more tests, and the more tests we do, the more positive we're going to get. So as of today, they've done 17,518 tests. And out of that, we have 907 positive ones in the state. And the sad news is the deaths still climb, and there's 52 deaths that go along with that in the state. So with that, Vernon, you know, they started to release, the state started to release numbers for each town. Vernon has the number 7 of positive tests that have been in Vernon. And if you look at some of our neighboring towns and they don't have a number, it's because they are either at 6 or below. That was the magic to it. Not to say that they don't have any, because they certainly could have 0 to 6. And Vernon has 7, so ours becomes public. So with that, we are still at what we've been saying for 8 weeks. Wash your hands, social distancing, you know, and a scarf or something to cover your mouth. I know more and more people are being relaxed and are going out. The governor, as you do know, I'll just reiterate it, has allowed 10 people. However, businesses that are operating are now under a VOSHA regulation. The VOSHA regulation is the offset of OSHA. It's the Vermont version. VOSHA does not come and inspect your business or get involved with you unless there's a complaint or a reason for them to come. But they have released a training slideshow. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to complete it. When you complete the show, the training, you can print off a certificate or email it to your boss. And it should be on file. It has a date and everything on it. And so businesses need to do that. Again, VOSHA is not going to come down and see if you did, but if they do show up for whatever reason and you haven't, then you're subject to significant fines or whatever repercussions come with that. So as well as it's really good training. I took it. I actually found that it was quite useful. You can go online, either under the Vermont Department of Labor or under VOSHA. And it's right there, you can click on it. I've had a few conversations with a couple of businesses in town and encouraged them all to take it. And I know that the town employees, I know, have been encouraged to take it. So having said that, I really don't have a great other thing to say other than we're doing well. Vernon is doing very well. The state's doing very well. We still have the 14-day, if you come into Vermont, good job, Rich. If you come into Vermont from out of state and you're going to stay here, you need to quarantine for 14 days. That hasn't lightened up. That's still there. And whether or not there's sanctions, the Attorney General's office is still prepared to follow up on that if we have cases that we can submit there. It would be more of a police action at that point. I would turn this over to the health officer and let him go. You're muted though, Mark.
Yeah, Tom, you have everybody muted and they cannot unmute themselves. So you're going to have to unmute everybody and then everybody can go ahead and mute themselves.
everyone is unmuted.
Mark's
Uh,
not,
No, they are not all unmuted.
Dave Walker's not.
Well, they're all unmuted here other than Addison.
Michael is not, Seth is, okay. Mark is not.
Well, hold on. Because they're all showing to be unmuted, but let me
Mark, can
do
you
it.
try and unmute yourself and see if it's. So can you unmute Mark Snow, please?
I'm continuing to.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, hey, Mark.
You are all showed as unmuted, though. I will let you know.
I'm here. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you're staying well and healthy and taking everything in stride. I have just a few bullet points that I'd like to mention. But like Dave, really not much new going on this end. Locally, I'm not aware of any direct problems related to the COVID-19. So that's really good news. As you know, Governor Scott continues to evaluate and lift restrictions, like Dave spoke a few minutes ago about. As the data shows that the governor can release further restrictions, he's doing so that Vermont can reopen and people can get back to doing things in their lives. Though I would like to remind everyone that we still all have a part in this COVID-19. We're not out of the woods yet. We still have to follow the directives that are handed down by the state. And that means the isolation distances, mask coverings, and certainly washing hands. Mask not only protect yourselves from others, it protects others from you as well. So it's very important to wear a mask when you're in public and you can't keep the isolation distance of 6 feet or further. The Vermont Department of Health continues to maintain their webpage, which is healthvermont.gov on the COVID-19. They have a great deal of information on that website that people can log on and certainly find that information for themselves. There's also a section in there for frequently asked questions. So people can look at that because they may have a question but don't know who to ask. So somebody else may have asked that and it may be posted on their website. The other thing is now that there is nice weather, people are starting to be outside more and more. And as we all know, ticks are around. Ticks can be a health hazard. So just be aware when you're outside of the tick problem. And when you get inside or before you go inside, make sure you look yourself over to make sure you don't have any ticks on you or your pet. That's pretty much what I have at this point. Not sure if there's any questions.
While we have Seth hanging out here, Dave or Mark, I just heard the governor say on the news this evening that he would be releasing his, I don't know his plan to reopen recreation. And that was everything from golf courses to, he really didn't elaborate on that, but did say that there would be some more information to come tomorrow about that. So that might be a press conference that you'd like to catch, Seth, just to
Absolutely.
put that
Yeah,
out there.
sounds good.
David, and I would assume, because he wouldn't allude to any more, that we haven't heard anything else about what the plans are there.
No, I was on a conference call this afternoon, and basically they're saying the same thing. That's his next spigot or next quarter turn, is to look at places like that. However, that's one's a little more complicated because recreation areas that we think about may not be included in that.
Right,
It may be,
right.
you know, camping areas and stuff like that.
Right.
Not
Certainly just
pools.
nice to hear those words and have some hope that maybe things are going to start to, certainly not normal size, because I think we're a long ways from that, but maybe we can start to get these kids outside and enjoying some of this fresh air and not being, I know my kids are not staying inside of my house all summer. That's just not happening.
Yeah. And I would offer to Seth that if there's anything that, you know, we can do to help when it comes to the planning part, it's going to be a tough one to do. But it's
Appreciate it.
Turn a new leaf. And I think his press conference is at 11.
Yep. All right. Do we have any questions for Mark or David? Awesome. Gentlemen, I believe that you're all set if you'd like to cut out, if you want to stay and listen to us. I don't blame you. It's probably the most excitement that any of us have. So,
Well, that's sad.
yeah, it sure is. All right.
Thank you, and everyone safe.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mark.
Thank
Let
you.
Thanks,
me know
Dave.
if you need anything.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Thanks.
So
Bye.
we will move on to Mr. Walker so we can get him out of here. David, are you with us? You've got him muted. Tom, can you please unmute him?
There is no one muted other than Michael Rutan. He's doing his own.
And
No one
Cindy
on
Turnley,
my-
who is David?
There's no one on this list muted, Chris.
Well, I can see from my list that they are, Tom. So I
Well,
don't
I'm
know.
looking at,
I don't know what we have managed to do in this meeting this evening, but for some reason, people cannot unmute themselves, and it has not been like this previously.
right. I have no one on this list muted other than Michael, and he's controlling himself.
Who is the other Cindy Turnley that's in here? Because that one's
That's
muted.
you, I think.
No, it's not. I'm under Chris.
I think it's Dave
That's the
Walker.
host. That's the host.
That's the
No, we
host
got
is
it now.
Tom.
All right.
You
Okay.
got it, Chris.
Okay, perfect. David, go ahead. What do you got for us?
Fuel bid. You guys got that one?
Fuel, you said, yes?
Yep.
Yep.
Petroleum bid. We
Yep,
sent
go
out,
ahead.
only got one back.
Yeah.
But I think you can see why we only got one back with fixed price.
So would you recommend going with them, David?
Yep, I recommend going with Barrels and Fisher again with everything.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the bid for petroleum products from Barrels and Fisher Oil Company.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Dunkley to accept the bid from Barrows and Fisher for petroleum products. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Okay. Next,
A dump truck bid, cab and chassis only.
Okay.
Jeff, any questions?
No.
Gene?
Go with Patriot.
Gene, any questions?
No,
Jeff, I'm sorry, did you say nothing?
No, I mean, I guess I would go with the low bid, assuming that all the bids are equal, or for the same machine.
David,
Yeah.
same everything?
Yep.
Okay. Michael?
Get out of there. Get out of there.
Yes, ma'am.
Michael, any questions, comments?
He muted himself.
Yep. Tom, can you unmute Michael, please?
Thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Sandy,
No questions.
can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the bid from Patriot LLC for the 2020 dump truck bid not to exceed 136,054.
second.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Carr. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Next.
No body bid.
Yep.
Plowing wing.
So what's the difference here? Because you got equipment specialties on one.
That's the name of the company that bid.
And that one just comes with the more options? Oh, no, that's the add-on. Okay, I see.
No, that's just the add-on. Yep.
Okay, all right. Jeff, on this one?
Go with a low bid. Tenco.
Michael? Can't hear you, Michael.
I don't have any questions on that one.
Sandy?
What does David recommend?
The other two bodies have got a Tenco. Go with Tenco.
Okay. Gene?
All set.
I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we award the bid for the dump body plow wing for 2020 for $78,971.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Dunkley. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Paving bid, David?
Have you go with the low bid, Allstate Materials Group.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move we accept the bid for paving with All States Materials Group for not to exceed $114,946.20.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this one? I know that paving tends to be a little, there's usually something.
Why we paved up the road. Only one house.
David, any insight on Hubbard Road, why we own that, why we paved it, and why we maintain it for one house?
We've always owned it. I don't know how it came about. It's ours.
Do we have a schedule for paving?
Yes.
Does that one need to be done this year? Like, it seems to be a.
It's all cracking up.
Is there a reason that we couldn't just let that become a dirt class 4 road that doesn't require as much maintenance and money?
Actually, the dirt will cost you more, Chris.
Okay.
And actually what's on it, just so everybody knows, 15 years ago when we did Governor Hunt Road, that's all the millings we took off of Governor Hunt Road, and we redid a bunch of roads, millings.
Okay. That makes more sense to me now.
And is that common practice, Dave, that we have access to those millings before they disappear and they make more money off from them?
Yep, yep. You can hold them and have them come, take them down to the garage, and we can do more dirt roads at another time.
They're great for pothole repair.
Mm.
All right. And Lily Pond Road, same thing, that one needs it, or?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion. It's been moved and seconded to accept the low bid of All State Materials Group. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Could I get who made the motion?
I did.
Sandy made the motion and Jeff Dunkley seconded.
And that was the same for the Demco dump truck, I mean, the plow and wing?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the amount of money on the Allstate?
Go ahead.
114946.20.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Would anybody object, because we have Mr. Walker here, would anybody object to going into old business number 3 and have that discussion quickly? Because that will directly affect his staff as well. Actually, there's a few other things on here that will affect your staff too, David. What was that, Sandy?
It's fine with me.
All right.
Yep, that's fine.
Take 'em.
So we had all agreed when this nightmare started that we would revisit payroll on the 5th of May. And here we are at the 5th of May. I think every one of us was hopeful that this nightmare would have ended. We all would have been back to work and living our happy, normal lives. But here we are on the 5th of May, and that is not the case. So now we need to figure out restrictions are loosening. David has continued to work with his staff. I believe you guys haven't really had any downtime, have you, David?
We haven't.
Okay. So I don't think that the payroll is an issue on his end at all. They're still out there. There is some, which I'm sure that you're well aware of, David, with the addendums to number 11, just as far as how many people can be in your trucks, the social distancing, all of that stuff, which when I've seen you guys around town, you've been in separate vehicles and life seems good.
We're going to keep maintaining that for a while.
Okay. So I guess that just brings up the few other employees. I know, Brana, you wanted to be here for this one as well. But there is still a few employees. Seth has some staff that we're, again, hopeful that that rec starts to open up and we can start to utilize them. But I guess we have to have this discussion here. So Jean, what are your thoughts on this?
On continuing to pay?
Yes, sorry. That was very unclear in my rambling. I get it.
Well, I think about this a lot because otherwise you would be laying people off. And we don't have enough funds to cover that the way this town does it.
Mm-hmm.
There's only $20,000, $22,000 for unemployment.
Okay.
And their wages are already in the budget. So.
Agreed. Sandy?
That's a good point. I was wondering how much we had in it. I think we should continue to pay and look at our unemployment status for the future.
Good point. Michael?
I agree with Sandy and her.
Mr. Dunkley?
Yes, I'm a little confused as to exactly what positions we're talking about.
So this would be the preschool staff. Correct me if I'm wrong, Seth. I'm looking at you like we're having a face-to-face conversation here. It would be preschool staff, the after school, which would only be another, what, couple?
About 5 weeks, I guess, something in that ballpark.
Right, and then last week, when we had the, or I'm sorry, at our last meeting, we had the discussion, and you were able to show us those numbers within your budget that would bring us out to the number that we needed to be, so that this wasn't affecting taxpayers in any way, that this was just kind of status quo and everything came out even in the end. Is that?
That's still correct, yes.
Okay. So that's the staff. I believe it would also be, we have a few office staff that have not been in the building. One that has been given doctor's permission. And I'm not, the other one, I don't know as if we saw anything on that yet, but certainly.
We have 2 with doctor slips.
Okay. So those are the people that we're talking about at this point, Jeff.
I would support continuing to pay any town employee that is a full-time position and receives benefits. I'm not going to support part-time jobs.
So what happens to the money that's been voted on and is set aside for those positions if that did not happen? Where would those funds return to?
Those are close out at the end of the year, Mr. Chairman, to undesignated fund balance, to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
To be clear on the part-time personnel for the preschool staff that we're discussing, those monies are not taxpayer dollars. Well, I mean, they are not as they come to us. They originally are. Those are our preschool partnership dollars that they're paid out of. It's not taxpayer dollars per se. So that does not go back into any general fund.
Right. I was talking about town hall office part-time staff.
Sure.
Seth, are you still getting the school partnership money? Do you still get that? Yeah.
Yeah, we have one last payment that we will receive in full. We've been assured by the district, and I've submitted for that, and it will be on its way. Actually, it may already be here. I'm not sure, but if it's not here, it will be shortly.
Great. Super.
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. David, I believe that we have discussed everything. So if you would like to cut out, you're welcome to. You guys are still working, so I don't think this pertains to you. You are definitely welcome to stay, but I just wanted to give you that heads up. So if we chose to not pay the part-time staff, we would have to lay them off or furlough them or whatever, and then we would have to pay them out of the unemployment fund anyway. Am I correct with that?
That's my understanding, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we would have to go to the taxpayers and ask them to refund that account? Or is that coming out of their paychecks? How is that money getting into that account?
It's just been there. It hasn't get used enough to refund it.
So then this would be another thing at town meeting where we would stand up and ask people to put some more money into a fund because we used it now. Is that we would be looking to recoup that so that we had our rainy day fund there, right?
That's how I understand it. Or you pay the unemployment to the state based on all your wages every quarter, which historically we're
more expensive.
A lot more money.
So Jeff, given that information, I mean, where do we want that?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little unclear about why would it be more money. I mean, is this a municipal thing, or because I mean, in private industry, that's not the case. So I mean, essentially, does it mean that we pay people not to work because it's cheaper than to furlough them?
If you have 2 people out on medical leave, you really can't furlough them anyways.
Yeah,
Jeff, the town does not pay the state any unemployment compensation money.
How come?
Because the alternative was to have kind of our own unemployment fund.
Okay.
So instead of paying that all the time, we've just had this fund that barely has been used, not very much.
It would be like you're self-insured for that particular program.
I believe the LCT offers unemployment as well. But we'll
Maybe
be-
it's
Or
something,
whatever.
maybe it's something that ought to be revisited.
I think.
Yeah.
I agree. This whole thing has sounded very strange to me since I found out about all this, Jeff. I certainly think that this needs to hit an upcoming agenda. Tom, if you can make a note of that, and maybe we could get with the treasurer and find out how this came to be, why, and how much we're actually, if anything, saving by doing it this way,
Yeah.
so that we could all be on the same page.
So is
that-
it all right if I ask her to the next meeting then, Mr. Chair?
That would be fine. Yep.
Thank you.
So we can look at that in the future. I guess now we have to make the decision on, are we getting into the unemployment funds that's there and asking the taxpayers to refund that next year? Or are we going to just continue to pay these people? And the two office staff, because there's doctor clearance, I don't believe that we have a leg to stand on that one. So they would continue to get paid. So then we're talking the preschool part-time, but so Seth, is that money's there, that money's accounted for, that money didn't come from us. So I guess my opinion would be that we don't really have a say in whether those people continue to get paid or not. And maybe I'm wording that wrong because it doesn't sound right, but I'm a little curious here.
Correct, being that it is not, it's not monies that is governed by the select board per se. It is essentially like grant, or not, I don't want to say grant monies, but they're non-taxpayer dollars, correct? So it's like fundraising dollars that the department has the authority, so to speak, to spend that money how we feel fit, is my understanding. And I'm not trying to come across as, you know, you can't stop us. I don't mean it that way in any way, shape, or form. I'm having a hard time articulating it, I guess. But that has kind of always been my understanding with those. They're not subject to the same guidelines as some of the regular taxpayer dollars.
And could I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So this is in lieu of these monies, Seth, that you're talking about. This is in lieu of monies that you would have collected in tuition that you're not able to collect in tuition. This comes out of a fund that allows you to spend money as you see fit.
So there's two separate things we're talking about here, Tom.
Okay.
We're talking about the part-time staff is paid through our ADM partnership monies. That's monies we receive from the school district.
Okay.
That is separate from our fiscal budget. So that's what our part-time personnel have been paid with. So they don't have an impact on our actual budget per se.
Yeah.
The preschool fundraising dollars that you're talking about are monies that the department wishes to utilize to offset, yes, tuition, so that the bottom line for the preschool comes in where we want it to, and as well as the entire department.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Brana, you had a hand up. Go ahead.
The first motion that you made, the library also, the trustees voted to pay all our staff, whether they work or not, until the first pay period. And then at our last meeting in April 8th, I believe, the trustees voted to continue to pay our staff, whether they work or not, until the end of the budget, the fiscal year, which is June 30th.
Okay.
So because as I think it was Jeff that said it when this discussion happened, 6 or 8 weeks ago, it wasn't their fault. This was not fair. It wasn't their fault. And it's budgeted. So that's it.
Have any of the library staff, with the exception of Jean, I know that she's there a lot, but is there things that could be done in preparation for reopening at some point? Sanitization of the books, the shelves, I mean, just going through and doing that thorough clean and emptying the shelves. And as I sit here and say that, that sounds like the most horrendous job ever to have to do all of that. But I'm curious, would that be something that we could be looking at in preparation for the hopeful near future reopening?
So, I don't feel everything in there needs to be sanitized because it sat untouched for so long. And I do the, frequently touched surfaces. I'd been emptying the book drop, sanitizing those books. And initially I just let them set because I didn't know what the recommendations were in terms of how long the virus was going to stay on things. As we got more information, I realized that, we were in good shape with what I was doing. So after last week, when the governor loosened things a little bit, because the library being non-essential really meant that nobody was supposed to be in there. I had to do administrative things. So when he loosened things a little last week, I did have one of the assistants come in.
Yep.
To get caught up on a ton of books that needed to be put away. And she's actually, I had them pack up all the toys because that kind of stuff won't be able to be out. Just starting to clean up things and put things away. And there are things that I'm going to be able to have them help me with when I can get to them. So I am starting to have them come back as I have work for them.
Okay. Perfect. So, Jeff, any further discussion on that with this information that we have about our strange unemployment fund in this town?
Yeah, I have a little hard time wrapping my head around it.
See that.
Taxes are due in 2 days. And again, I think we have a fiduciary responsibility to taxpayers to spend their money wisely. And so if the way unemployment works, it's less expensive to continue to pay people not to work, then that's what we got to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you just need to wait to listen to hear from the treasurer on this because she really is an expert on it.
Well, that's the solution to this problem going forward. That doesn't fix the current situation that
Correct.
we're faced with. So I guess I will take a motion on this, however anybody wants to. I will make a motion that we continue to pay our staff the way that we have been, and we will continue to follow the governor's recommendations and orders and adhere to those and revisit this as necessary for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. So Carol, we had one nay, one recluse, yep, that word, and and 3 yays.
Thanks.
Okay. And then while we still have Seth here, and Seth, you can get out of here right after this. Let's get an update. You and Jean pulled off this gray t-shirt thing. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Well, we put it out there and you guys made it happen. It is posted on our Facebook, on our website. It has been shared all over the place. I've already ordered some. I actually called her and asked her to make me a special hat, so that's coming too. And I know that Michael has some coming and he's sending them to his brother and sister, so it's getting out there. Any update on that? I just want to say thank you guys, because that's fantastic that you guys pulled that off. So any update or information that we should have on it?
Last I knew, we'd had several orders already come in. I haven't checked it this afternoon. I do have kind of a back end to the website so I can track orders. I can, Gina and I can chat and we can stay in touch as far as how that's going for everybody. And No, I think it's going well. I think it's a good start, and as word gets out, I think it'll be even stronger.
So tell us how much the town gets out of this, though.
Sure. Every T-shirt sale for adult T-shirts, we get $10 per shirt. The adult shirts sell for $19. The children's sizes sell for $18. There's 2 different designs available, and there's 2 different ordering windows. Essentially a 2-week window that's open right now. Those orders will be filled, and then there's a second 2-week ordering window that those orders will be filled at the end of that. She's offering shipping if that's what people prefer, or a pickup, which we kind of went with the rec area just because it's an outside area and seemed like an easier spot to kind of have people come pick up their orders. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So every shirt that's bought, the town gets $10 back. The
Right.
$8 or $9 stays with her company, which we were able to go with a Vermont company last time we were talking about New Hampshire. This is also a company that prints all of our rec shirts for sports teams. I believe they do banners and stickers for you guys too, right? They pretty much anything that our school needs, they take care of.
Yep. Fantastic.
And she was willing to help. I had a nice conversation with her yesterday and thanked her for it. So I'm glad that we were able to keep this money as close to home as possible and that the town gets something out of it. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And with that, I think we are all set with you, sir.
Well,
I
would like to thank Seth because he really had all the connections and really did the most of this. So
We work
it
together on it. It's a
went
community.
really well.
You know what
Thank
makes
you.
me the happiest about this is the 2 of you working together. That's what
Perfect.
makes me the happiest.
It's perfect. It's a community-wide thing. It's not a department-specific thing. It's a community-wide thing. So that's the cool part.
Yes, Brana, go ahead. You had your hand up.
I have not found that information. I don't know how to find things on Facebook. So could you tell me who to call or how to order? And it would be on this, anybody listening to this?
Ron, I'd be happy to email you the link tomorrow if that works.
Absolutely.
Can I do that?
Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for coming tonight.
You bet. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Now that we've jumped all over the place, we want to go up and do bills and warrants. Or I guess we need to do, I'm sorry, we got to do the approval of the minutes from the 21st, please.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 21st.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Harris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. Now we'll do bills and warrants.
Okay, where are they? All right. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve payment of the following warrant. 22T, accounts payable, $19,595.83. 16S, payroll, $7,317.25. And 17S, payroll, $6,532.46.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Harris. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Mr. Tom, would you care to give us an update from that special meeting on the 29th? I know that you've been working hard to get it posted, so let us know where you're at, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I have to tell the board that my internet here right now is going in and out terribly, so I'm only catching like every third or fourth word as they come through. I hope you're hearing me okay.
Yes.
So we put the ad together. I sent the ad out, got some responses to it. We have had a nice conversation, and I thank both Chris and Michael with Casey over at the BDCC, who they have a LinkedIn account for their own advertisements, and they're allowing us to use theirs at no cost. And they're doing some kind of neat search terms for us, so that's going well, and that's at no cost. I sent out a one-pager late this afternoon, for those who may have seen it. We've advertised at the Maine Municipal Association for $75, the New Hampshire Municipal Association for $150. This is all for, they do 30 days, even though we want ours, the ending date is the 21st for the select board stuff. VLCT is, the ad is Freedom members. I thought it was $80, but it's Freedom members. We're in the Commons for 2 weeks for $280. The Vernon newsletter, Martin has put us on that and on the Facebook page. In the Vermont Department of Labor, I went to, and then Michael had contacts there where he was able to work some additional magic to what the normal advertising, filling the form out and putting the ad up. So I thank him for that. So those are all going as of last week and today. Those are all running. You've noticed that I looked at Indeed, which is a great online site. They'll run 4 days for no cost and then $23 a day thereafter. 10 days on that would be $230. The Reformer was just very expensive, although they did come back with a less expensive ad when I told them I couldn't afford it. They came down about $400. That's a different size ad. It's a 3 by 4.5. I still think it's too expensive. That's my own opinion. They didn't seem to offer anything other than the 4 days and the 2 papers. And then the Recorder, Greenfield Recorder, in their families. I'm sorry, Jeff, what?
Yeah, no, I had a question on, so the Reformer, the original quote was $1,000 for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then they dropped it to what, 600?
585.
Yeah. For 4 days.
I called them and said we couldn't do it. It was the select board wasn't going to approve $1,000 for 4 days, and I still think 585 is too much.
I agree.
Now the Recorder papers, which is $364.15 and 30 days of online ad as well. It includes everything in the area, not just in Massachusetts. It's got the Monadnock Ledger, the Recorder, the Athol Daily News. I know that's on the other side, but it's still kind of rural up in this area. The Hampshire Daily Gazette. I don't know if it hits the Amherst Bulletin. The Valley Advocate. I don't think it hits the Concord Insider, but it hits 4 or 5 of their 8 or 9 papers. I think that that's a really good price given the geographic area near us.
There's a lot of exposure
that it connects for $365. But I also think you ought to do Indeed. I think I've used that before in other venues, and it's been very good. A lot of people look to Indeed, but a lot of people look to the local papers too in the online version. But those two I would suggest. I would not suggest you do the Reformer and Banner.
I agree.
So we have kind of grouped number 1 from old business in with this. So I guess my thought would be that we throw it on Indeed, and I'm open to anybody's suggestion as far as the Recorder. But I mean, all in all, even if we did the Recorder and Indeed, we're still well under $1,000 here, Tom.
230.
About 1,000.
590. 800, about $1,000. That's right. Yeah.
Sandy, your thoughts?
I would do the Recorder too,
As well as Indeed?
as well as Indeed, yeah.
Jean?
The same. Recorder and Indeed.
Jeff?
I agree. Both of them.
Michael?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the number is $1,099.15.
Okay. Not bad when we had planned on over $6,000, so
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. Do we need a motion on this, Sandy? Your thoughts?
I think we should.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we authorize the advertising for the positions in the, great, papers, you know that word, as listed.
The Recorder and Indeed, because the others are done.
Recorder and Indeed, yes.
Okay.
Recorder and Indeed, then the publications.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Dunkley. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, is
I
that,
thank the board and I'll get that done tomorrow.
Go ahead, Carol.
is that Indeed, like INDEED?
It is indeed,
It
indeed.
is indeed, okay.
Oh, he was waiting for that.
Spelled like it sounds.
Yeah. All right. Town policies update and review. So we have tabled this every time it's come up, and that has been my doing. Our town policy book, there's some outdated stuff. There's some things that don't pertain anymore. At some point, we really need to delve into that, look at it, and see. So I guess in an effort to not continue to postpone this, what is everybody's thoughts on this? My thought is that we should all have a copy of the policy book that we could have at our homes, that we can look through, see what makes sense. Maybe we split that up amongst ourselves and take a look at that. What's everybody's thoughts on that?
So is that the employee policies or
All the policies, I think.
or
Yeah,
all
it's the
the
policies and ordinances.
in ordinances? Oh,
Yeah.
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 I just think there's some stuff in there that doesn't pertain to the town of Vernon anymore. So,
I think if we had a chance to go over it, and then when the new administrator comes on, that would be a good way for them to get their feet wet and know the town.
okay. So I will do my very best to make 4 additional copies of these. I'll check downstairs and see what we have first, but make some copies, get it to everybody, and then we will, Tom, for upcoming meetings, I would like to table this until at least the second meeting in July. And that'll give everybody some time with it. We don't have to keep seeing it pop up here.
Okay.
So we'll move on to number 3, that is Addendum 11. Tom, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The governor, as you know, and Dave Emery spoke earlier, is turning the spigot a little bit each week, trying to open up some things. And in his most recent addendum, Addendum 11, there were a couple of things that the town needed to pay attention to because they were in, not conflict, but they weren't in consort with what the town had done earlier. One dealt specifically with the number of people in vehicles, where the town had a few weeks ago put the rule out that, you know, everyone was to drive their own vehicle and not have 2 in a vehicle. The governor's new addendum 11 allows for 2 people in a vehicle. The board can certainly keep it at 1 person. I just wanted to bring it before the board so they knew that the state had loosened it up a little bit to allow 2 people in a vehicle. Additionally, the order called for have a health officer, so to speak, on each shift, not like Mark Snow type health officer, but someone to be sure that people have done the training and they're not coming in sick and they're adhering to social distancing and all those types of things. Health officer on site every shift responsible for ensuring compliance with his prior addendum. My recommendation on that is Tim, Seth, and David, because they're the people that are dealing with people in town hall for the most part.
We should probably put Gene. Can we put Gene on that as well? Just
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to ask that.
Okay.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And that's the everything else in this that he's recommending, we're already doing, about wearing face covers if someone else is in the building, proper hand washing. You know, a lot of this has to do with having hand sanitizers available, soap and water, all those types of things we're already doing. Signs posted in the building like the library has, if you're sick, don't come in, those types of things. No congregation of employees on site, and you've already put that in the rules relative to the break room, like down at the DPW. So a lot of these things the board incorporated. It was just that no more than 2 people shall occupy 1 vehicle when conducting work. That was the one that kind of stuck out at me as being different from what the board was currently doing.
Can I ask a question? What about number F, or letter F?
Yeah, I've checked.
Are they being pre-screened, which does include temperature checks and a survey verifying it?
We are not doing temperature checks. I checked with our neighboring small communities. I didn't go to Brattleboro on this, but certainly I went up to Grafton. They are not either because there's so few employees. We can get some thermometers and do this, but given that all of the town clerks appoint people are on by appointment, and so forth, we just didn't see the need to do that, given the numbers of people that we have.
Well,
It's the workers.
I disagree.
I'm fine doing it. In checking around, I didn't see another community, smaller community doing that.
But there's two things here though, right? I mean, it's one or the other, or it could be both, but one is the questionnaire to the employee. Do you have signs and symptoms? Do you have a fever? Do you have sore throat? Are you having trouble breathing? Or it's the temperature check. So I think that at a minimum, we should have, there's no reason that Seth can't be asking his employees the same that David can ask his every morning. Hey, how you feeling today? I mean, that's a simple check-in with our employees to help everybody. I thought that I had read something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that there was a mandate that we were to at least attempt to order contactless thermometers. I thought that that was part of his order, that knowing that we could not get them, that we at least had to attempt to order them.
And you won't get them. I've attempted.
Yeah. And I could be confusing that with the school stuff, but I thought that it was all under the same VOSHA thing.
I don't remember reading about the attempt, but I mean, being that temperature is one of the assessments, it kind of
important
lends itself to it.
Yeah, I don't see that, Chris. I only see what Sandra had brought up under F, including temperature checks and survey. And going to the next 2 pages, I didn't mark it, but I don't see it either. But that doesn't mean
I don't remember reading that.
All right.
And have all of our employees taken the VOSHA training?
Everybody in the library has.
Everybody in town hall has. I know that I'm 99% sure the rec department has, and I know David was working with his people.
Great.
All right, so how about if we send out a memo tomorrow, Tom, if you could, and is there a already laid out survey that the state or that VOSHA has given us?
I haven't seen anything that's come through.
Well, I think what they're saying is survey in terms of asking the people for these symptoms.
Right. So I didn't know if they had like a checklist that they had made for us to use that.
Well, you could probably make up your own Excel thing or something.
So could we get a memo out to all department heads that their staff need to have the VOSHA training complete by the end of this week? Because I believe the deadline was the 4th, wasn't it?
Yes.
So
yes,
it needs to be done. And that they need to ask very specific questions of their employees every day. Do you have fever, sore throat, chills, any of that stuff? And let's set it up for them so that they don't have to go digging for it if we could.
You know,
Right.
we don't have to recreate this wheel because the nursing home and the assisted living home, they're doing it every day, every shift. So you could probably just get a copy of theirs.
Yeah, you could. Tom, why don't you email Mr. Sleeper and see if they have a checklist?
Yeah,
that
I
we
just
could
made that note.
Perfect. All right.
You know, one
So-
of the other things in that addendum also says that indoor workspaces,
Yeah.
well, with more than 2 employees, must have good air circulation, so, and no more
As
than
hot
2
as that town office was yesterday, that'll kill anything.
hopefully, or no more than, okay, yep. So we gotta be aware of that too.
Yeah.
Still need to distance and all of that.
All right. So that knocked out, where are we? That was
Where are-
number 3. All right. I sent everybody some pictures. I'm sorry, Brana, you had your hand up there and I skipped right over. You all set?
Yeah, I just have the VOSHR training thing packet right here, and you guys were right on about the temperature checks, and
Okay.
getting the handheld, the temperature thingies, the thermometers. You were right. I just
Okay.
wanted to let you know I had the real wording here.
Brana, you can chime in anytime you want to tell me I'm right. That's fine.
Boy, after
Boy.
my
Chris.
faux pas earlier. Thank you.
All right. So I sent you guys some pictures earlier. A few weeks back, the shed that used to be out on the town property blew away. David Emery, Seth, and Ian picked it all up, and inside of that shed was some wonderful memorabilia from our police department that I think is probably worth just as much in a dumpster as it is in that building out there. But then if you look at those pictures, there's also there's some paper products that have been out there for who knows how long. And my opinion would be that the fire department's a great place for those. There is obviously our lime and that kind of stuff is out there. There's some tools out there, some bicycles that have been picked up that aren't in the greatest shape, but I think that if somebody wanted to try and fix those up for some town kids, they probably could. And then the only thing that I think that we would really have to spend some time and go through before we made a decision on, there is one whole shelf that has town maps, some old VHSs that I'm assuming are from the police department. So there's some random stuff over there that I think needs a little bit more care than just making a decision to toss it in a dumpster. But for the most part, that place is just filling up. And it seems to be a catch-all. It seems that that has kind of been a running theme in there. It's what I get from walking around. So I'm not sure what the end goal with that building is. Obviously, it has some value to the town, but I don't see any reason that any of our town buildings would just be a collection site for junk. So curious what the board's thoughts are on, I guess specifically the stuff that was in that shed that has a lot of mouse damage. There's some mold on it, and it is just ancient. I mean, we've got the old video cameras that you. So what's everybody think about that? Sandy.
If you've got the yucky stuff, that's a health hazard, get rid of it. That used to be used as for the Boy Scouts, and then there was talk about using it for the police department. They've tossed around different ideas for that building. And when in doubt, just stuff it with junk. It's time to get the junk out of it and maybe find a purpose.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, we at town meeting, we hear everybody, well, we're just dumping money into this, we're doing that. There's no money going into that building, but at some point, it's going to need money.
Yeah.
It's a vacant building that's sitting there with no heat. It's just open to the elements, really. And I'm not sure, at some point, we're going to have to look at that and make a decision about that and what the end result of that building is going to be. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts on that stuff up there?
I'd say the items with no value, or as you put it better, they have more value in a dumpster. Those should be no-brainers. You don't want me to go through it because I have a hard time throwing anything out.
It's a family trait.
Yeah, true.
Sorry about that.
Jean, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I guess if there's kind of hazardous stuff, we're gonna have to figure that out.
Okay. Michael?
Same, long as it's not accountable. If it's wrapped, done, get rid of it before it becomes a health hazard.
Okay.
Work.
Perfect. All right. We added number 5 here, joint meeting update from the Planning Commission. So over the weekend, I didn't make any friends with a couple of people on the Planning Commission because I asked on Facebook what our residents wanted to see here.
Yeah.
And Jeff, no offense, I don't really care if I upset anybody, and I think everybody knows that by now, because I think that it's time. I think that it's time that we have these discussions, and not to take anything away from the Planning Commission, because they've done more digging into things than I would ever want to. And they have a direction, and they have many volunteers that have put time in there. I was personally curious what other people in town wanted to see, what they thought this town was missing, what would make it more fun or whatever. So that's what I wanted to see, and see if there was any similarities between the two. But again, I think I rubbed a couple of people on the Planning Commission the wrong way. Maybe they thought I was stepping on toes, and that wasn't the intent. But I don't remember the last time that the Select Board received an update from the Planning Commission. I don't remember the last time that we all met and had a talk, and where are things at? Where are we headed in town? What's the next step for all of this? And I think that it's time that we do that. And I don't see why we couldn't have a joint meeting where we discuss everything, and we just, everybody walk away from that having the same amount of information that the Select Board has and that the Planning Commission has. And I am curious what your guys' thoughts are on that. Sandy.
Working together is a good idea.
Jean?
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to go to those meetings, but they're on the same night as library trustee meetings, so I don't always make it, which was the only way that, you know, I could keep informed. So they probably should really come to us, in that this would also be more available to everybody in town to see.
Michael?
I think it'd be good to hear where they're at.
Jeff, I saved you till the end on that one. Obviously I know that you're on there. So I'm not taking any low blows that I think you guys, that anything's being withheld or anything like that. I just think that it's time that all of these committees that have been put in place, that we communicate, that we talk about these things, and that we make sure that the direction that everybody, that it works, that this makes sense for everybody involved. So what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think a joint meeting could be productive. I'm not sure what you said, but I think it probably would be a good idea. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So let's set something up for, or do we just want to invite them to the first Select Board meeting in June, or should we make that a separate meeting?
I think it's a separate meeting.
Make it a separate meeting. Okay. So maybe if we were to look, pulling up a calendar. So our next meeting is on the 19th. Jeff, when do you guys usually meet?
It's Wednesday nights. We haven't met for a little while. I think it's the second Wednesday of the month.
So that
Yeah.
will be, okay. What does everybody think if we set a Wednesday, the 27th of May meeting as a joint kind of collaboration between the two boards?
Do we have a meeting on the 28th?
28th.
Thursday.
Yes, for the TA position.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And that was all executive, right? Because that's going to be the applicate. What were we doing that day?
Looking at all the applications we're gonna get. What? Yeah,
Now, that was the meeting where you were gonna all agree on the ones that you had looked at for the prior week.
Okay, so
The 27th is fine with me, but I just thought we had one on the 28th.
Gene, what are your thoughts?
well, if we want it recorded so that everybody can see, should it be at a regular select board night? Or can we invite it to be recorded at another night? I don't know.
I mean, we could do it at a regular at the 19th select board meeting and just keep that agenda extremely light and plan to have the majority of that be the planning commission. Sandy, how do you feel about that?
Fine with me.
Gene, you all right with that?
Yes,
Jeff?
Yep.
Okay.
Fine.
Michael, you're good?
Yes, I won't get my new schedule for the new office I'm transferring to till tomorrow, so I have no idea when I'm gonna be working soon.
Okay,
Oh.
all right.
I'm transferring to Turner's Falls, so everybody knows.
Tom, could you please send a email to the chair of the planning commission and invite them to the May 19th select board meeting and inform them that that would be a collaboration, brainstorm, informational type of situation?
I'm making the note, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. All right. On to number 6. We received an email today requesting that a plaque be hung at the church. Sandy, I'm going to ask you to go on for this one.
Okay, let me find it. We got an email from Linda Morse.
Yeah.
And she's been in contact with Tom in regards to putting the application for Vermont Historical Marker for the Vernon Union Church on the agenda. The application asks, has the town or city manager been consulted and provided an opportunity to review the proposed text? She sent this to Tom. We've been working on this since mid-March. Because of COVID, things have stopped proceeding. The other question is, who was consulted and by whom? Date of consultation, please provide proof of town or city manager notification and review. This is done by a copy of the meeting's notes or a letter from the town or town's administrator. So they need to have that information to submit their application to the state. And that is a historical building with an amazing history. If you talk to Paul Miller about it, he gave a presentation that was outstanding.
Any questions? Gene?
no, I would just go with what they needed.
Jeff?
No questions.
Michael?
No.
I would take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we submit the documentation that's been requested and support putting the Union Church on the Vermont Historical Marker.
Second,
Moved and seconded by Ms. Carr. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. I am going to keep number 7 and we're going to wait until the end so Brana can cut out of here when we go into executive session. So old business number 2, stair replacement bid. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, as you know, we contacted the 3 local folks. I hadn't heard anything from them. I've recontacted all 3. Of course, right after we did that, the governor open the spigot a little bit and let some of the construction firms go back and do some work. So Renault Brothers, she thought he had given us something. He has not, so they're going to work on that. Zaluzny as well. I spoke with them again today, actually, as well as the Kings, and they're all
What?
planning to have,
Your internet's going out.
other than the Renault Brothers, I don't think anyone has actually viewed it.
You have Valley Concrete right down the road in Mass too.
And your guys are frozen up again.
All right. All right, so it sounds like we need to continue trying to persuade them for bids. I absolutely hate the fact that we have to beg for bids. I don't understand this. So I guess my suggestion would be that if people aren't getting back to us, that we move on to the next company.
Yep.
That's my thought. I don't understand. That maybe they're better off than other people, that they don't need the work. I don't know.
I think that, I don't know. I think they may have had some deadlines, and as soon as it got opened up, they probably tried to get done with some back work. I don't know. I haven't spoken to them in any
So,
detail.
I mean, I guess if you reached out to them today, if by our next meeting we haven't heard, or unless the board objects, I would say that we reach out to a couple of other companies and see if we can get this moving.
Yeah, Valley
Sandy,
Concrete,
what's that, Michael?
Valley Concrete's right up 142.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that they would actually do the construction part of it.
That's what they do.
They just come and dump the concrete, I think.
Valley's not a concrete company.
Oh, no, Valley. Okay, Valley, yep. Sorry, thinking of the wrong one.
There's a guy named Jeff Carter. I don't know if he lives in Vermont or New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
He lives in New Hampshire, okay.
Field.
All right.
All right, so I don't see any objection from the board to reaching out to, is everybody, 3 more companies, and see what we can come up with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that before your next meeting? I just want to get the timetable right.
definitely.
I mean, you can move on that whenever you want.
Okay.
All right, so there's that. So we received a message and an email from a resident that would like to acknowledge our graduating students, whether it be from kindergarten, 6th grade, 8th grade, moving up to high school, college. And the only way that we can do that, until the governor expresses how we're able to actually have graduations this year, they want to put signs up. So they're going to be similar to like the political signs that have the metal posts, and they're going to be out there. Some of them will say, congratulations, class of 2020. Some of them, the parents have the option to put their child's name on it. And they wanted to know if they could use the front lawn of the town office to display those. So far, she's had quite a bit of interest in it, and she has put it on hold until we make a decision this evening. So, Jeff, your thoughts?
I think it's a great idea.
Jean?
Basically, I like the idea. I guess I'm concerned with having personalized signs. I'm not sure how you reach out to all the parents to give them the same opportunity. I'd hate to have a parent go down and say, my kid's name isn't out there, and they really didn't know how to make that happen. So, it's like all or none on the kids' names. I don't know.
So on that, she, and I apologize, I'm on my phone, I'm going through the messages. She has reached out to Mary Ross at Vernon School, who said that they were interested, and they had a 6th grade team that were going to formulate a plan for their involvement. So it sounds like she has done the legwork to reach out, I think as best that she can. So now Mary Ross would be involved, making sure that those parents know that this is a possibility. So I don't know if that helps at all, Jean.
Well, there's a lot of other levels that are graduating. You've got BUHS any kids at private school. I don't know. I just feel like putting certain names on the lawn is maybe not appropriate. They could have it at their own house, but then on the lawn, just recognize the class from every school that's having a graduation, you know. There'd still be a lot. There's a lot of schools involved in town. You're going to have kids like Pioneer, Mount Herman, BAMS, BUHS, Vernon Elementary, I mean, and colleges.
Yeah, so right now they have 7 from Vernon Elementary, 3 from BAMS, 14 from BUHS, 1 from NMH, 1 from Stoneleigh Burnham, and 2 from UVM, and 1 from WNEU, whatever that is. Okay.
I don't know, because it's being public property. I'm not, I just have this feeling like it's all of them or none of them in terms of personalizing.
Sandy?
Jean makes sense. I was all for it, but there's something that, you know, someone might be left out, not deliberately. We don't want any discrimination thrown at us.
You know, they can have those signs in their neighborhood or whatever.
I've seen them on the decks.
And
Yeah.
I think, so when Kim and I began talking, this was more so that it would be collective. It would all be, this is the town of Vernon recognizing, and let me back up. It is not the town of Vernon recognizing. It is the town of Vernon allowing parents to recognize them on the town property because of these extreme circumstances, which has made it so that there is no celebration for the move up ceremonies that these kids would have had.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, my opinion is that under these circumstances that maybe we bend a little bit in the breeze here and allow it. I certainly see what you're saying. I do feel confident that Kim has been extremely proactive in reaching out to all of these families and done but I respect what you're saying and I understand it as well. So,
Who owns the property across the street from the town hall? Anybody
I'm
know?
not sure. Tom, can you unmute Jeff, please?
I didn't mute him. Okay, yep. Let me,
I think it's Chrysostomos. I bet he'd let us use that for that whole, let them use that. I'm looking at the Vermont E911 viewer. It looks like it's all a part of his pit.
On this side of the railroad tracks, just across from what would be the old whistle stop?
Yeah, that whole strip.
Yeah.
I guarantee him or the farm probably owns it, and I guarantee they'd let them use that. That way we stay safe on everything they're talking about.
Jeff, are you unmuted now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, what do we want to do here? We've got to get an answer to her. So I'm all for. She can check with Sir Sosmos and see if they'll allow that property. She does have these. They have not pulled the trigger on having these signs made until they hear from us. So.
What about the school doing on their front lawn?
So we had talked about that. I tried to push it that way, but because of that fence where the ball field is, they're hopeful to have it on the 142 side as opposed to the Governor Hunt side. And they felt that that fence there would either be an obstruction or we would have them on the other side of the fence, which would make it a potential target. So just because of how close that is to the road, it was just because it's such a short distance between that fence and the road is why they had that concern. Go ahead, Brana.
I have a question and a concern. The question is, who pays for these signs?
The parents.
What if I don't know what the price of a sign is, if it's anything like what I've paid for political signs. Could be a little bit, people may not want to. And the, and that would leave somebody out, and therefore people, and the other thing is the distraction of trying to read the signs as you go by on the car. That was my concern.
Oh,
It's true. If they did just the school, you know, class 2020 class of Vernon Elementary, you know, there would be fewer, but it still kind of celebrates the classes.
yeah, and the kids could, no, they couldn't. Individually stand under the sign and then you could photocrop it together.
I thought that, and I was trying to read this quickly because Braun, I thought she had said that that there was, yes, I also have multiple people who are willing to sponsor a sign if we have a graduate's family who wouldn't be able to purchase their own. So that has been addressed as well.
Thank you.
So what do we want to do here?
I think what we want to do and what we have to do may not be the same thing.
Yeah, yes.
I think some of that has to take a back seat, in my opinion. I think that we have to do whatever we can to give these kids some sense of normalcy, which was stripped away from them on what should have been one of the biggest and best years of their lives. And if we can give them a little kudos and a pat on the back and, man, we're sorry this happened and we wish it had gone different for you, then in my opinion, that's what we should be doing.
Well, I agree there, but I think putting it on the 142 side is wrong because of the traffic. If you're going to put it on town property, put it by the gazebo, where people would drive off to see it and then get right back on. Or
Oh, that's a good idea.
You don't need an accident because I'm trying to see how my kid's picture is out there or something, you know?
So what is the name of that road? Because I can never remember.
Burrows Road.
Burrows Road, Burrows.
So if they were to use the common side of Barrows Road, we would be okay with that in the area of the memorial gazebo, that section?
I would personally be okay, much more leaning toward doing it there because you're taking away the traffic hazard. I'm still concerned about someone being left out, but as long as they were very careful to get everybody, and they should have a list of all the kids that should be graduating from everything anyway.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. The Cusick Scholarship Committee would have the list of who was a senior this year, at least some of them.
Okay. Jean, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the best we can do. I hope nobody is offended.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that their child is, it's unbelievable how people do get missed. You know, you try as hard as you can to get the information out there, but people get missed.
And then it's worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wish it could just be recognizing the class from different schools and not personal.
I
Jeff?
agree.
Yeah, I think Burrows Road is more appropriate, again, from a safety standpoint. Yeah, I guess I can't really speak to the point about some kids getting missed out. Yeah, it's kind of like some kids don't get Valentine's cards in class.
Yeah, I know.
But anyways, I agree as far as Burrows Road.
Okay, Michael?
I agree with the Burrows Road. I think if I was them, I'd reach out to the local property owners. I think they'd get a lot better response because for the liability of the town, it's safer for us to have it somewhere else.
So I will reach out to Kim tomorrow. I will tell her that the Barrows Road common side is acceptable, that she
Yeah.
may want to consider reaching out to the property owners and see if she can come up with something else. I will also, Jean, make sure that I express to her your concern of the kiddos that might be forgotten about. And
Just missed, you know?
yeah, and see if she has reached out to the surrounding schools to make sure that, or see if there's a way that we can get a different announcement out. It gets tricky. I know that the amount of robocalls that are coming from schools now is insane. So to put another one of those out, I'm all set.
Yeah.
But I will definitely reach out to her and I will express all of these concerns and let her know that that is the only usable place. Okay, we got the update on the shirts. Tom, I think we pretty well covered the town hall use during the COVID because we did the, we wanted to touch on the plexiglass and the increased cleaning. So go ahead.
So Tim Arsenal, with his huge Rolodex of contacts, got a hold of Clear Solutions. They do this type of work. They came in last week, measured up 3 areas of town hall, the treasurer's office, the clerk's, where the clerk's counter is, and Jean was here and saw them on 2 places within the desk area at the library. They were measured up, they were made up, and they are ready for installation now. The clerk's is in, and the others are in town hall waiting to be just delivered, so to speak. So that has been done. They did a great job. They did it quickly. And I believe I don't want to quote the price. Tim's got the price on that. I think it was under $500 in total.
I think there was a 3 in there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to lowball it in case I was wrong. So I know it's under 5. And as far as cleaning, we've ordered more cleaning supplies as people come in. We have a protocol set up when they come into the clerk's office on, what they need to do. We followed the lead of the last meeting. So the restrooms have been signed that they're for employees only. And people come in and they need to have gloves and a mask, and they need to use the sanitizer if they don't have gloves. And then we sanitize all touched surfaces, doorknobs, and everything else once they've concluded.
Okay. I guess at this point, Brana and Rich, I would thank you both for coming. You're both welcome to check back in with us in a couple of minutes. Sandy, I would be looking for a motion to go into executive session, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into executive session on a personnel matter, the disclosure at this time, which might be detrimental to the town and or individuals involved.
Second.
Should we be inviting Tom with us?
Yes, okay, it's up to you.
Yeah, we'll bring him. All right.
Call the meeting.
What's that?
Nothing.
So
Shall I leave? For good?
Sandy, how do you want to handle that?
Is that the last thing on our agenda?
It is, other than correspondence, but yeah, and I don't even see much on that, so.
You could, and then just let Carol know that no action was taken, and if there's any motions, send it to her. And the time we
That work.
adjourn.
Tom, are you able to finish this meeting out with notes after we come out so that we can pass that on to Carol,
Yes.
please? Okay.
Yes.
Carol, you are all
Yes.
set. Thank you for joining us this evening.
All righty. I don't know how to sign out. Do
Leave
you sign
meeting.
me out?
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Rich. Thank you.
Carol, there should be a leave meeting thing down on your right hand.